Hi, everyone. I'm Gabe Erickson, the CEO of Warrior Transition Outdoors. We're starting a thing called Freedom Fridays. That's going to be an internal thing. It's going to be for our staff and volunteers. It's going to be external for you all. And the heart of it is let's promote freedom. Let's find freedom today. Let's remove the conditioning that could cause us to feel like we have to do something just for the wrong reasons. And let's follow our heart today and be free. And so internally, that could look like doing things that help elevate the veterans in our program or help drive the mission forward that lead to freedom for everyone. It could mean taking a break if that's what you need to be free. For you all, I want to talk about different aspects of narratives and things that we address as an organization for me personally to help veterans thrive in the society. And so, a chance to kind of share with you and hopefully impact you in a way that could help you create a more freeing environment for those veterans and families around you. We do a lot to remove the stigmas that come alongside that veteran title. And being in the veteran nonprofit space, especially, there is a lot of that. There is too much of that. And it's actually impacting the behavior of how we treat veterans from a nonprofit status, from a governmental status, from an individual status, from a societal status, from a community status. Like, however you're looking at it, I see people talk about the wrong things the wrong way or real issues the wrong way. And so I want to start to share that. These might be conversations just with me and you. It might be that I bring someone on to share their story. It's just going to be a chance to have a conversation. So you have something to see and to hear a little bit more beyond just that standard marketing message or story that you find online, but to get into our psyches a little bit as an organization, understand why is it that WTO is doing things so differently? Why are they taking this holistic approach? And why do they refuse to talk about this, and this in certain ways? And why don't they partner and align with nonprofits that do this, and this? What could it be that is causing them to do these things? It's not the shallow, oh my gosh, they don't play nice with others. That's not what it is. It's not a quick, oh my gosh, they're doing that because it's popular. It's nothing along those lines. We have very real reasons to do the things that we do. And I want to start to share those with you. We celebrated our 1 year anniversary, November 14th. And our first mission was to make sure that we were creating something that helped veterans and their families. And now that we see that happening, and now that we see that working, now I feel compelled as the CEO. I really didn't do much marketing. You look back through our marketing stuff, and there really wasn't a whole lot there. But we're all about transparency and vulnerability and really just being ourselves. And so we had to work hard that first year to create what we created. And now I want to start to share not only the story, but I think a lot about they're called narratives. Now, I know you've heard that word before. Um, Somewhere out there, you've heard that word, narratives. And there's a concept. There's a book called The Story Wars, Winning the Story Wars by Jonah Sachs. And he sets up this concept of a dominant narrative. Okay. And with this dominant narrative, it's usually not founded in truth all the times because the lie can make it around the world before the truth even puts its boots on, right? And so most often the things we hear are not rooted in truth. And so, I mean, we know this from just the politics, and anytime a politician speaks, it's so pervasive in our culture that a lot of just civilians and citizens have come to question, like, am I even hearing the truth? Maybe we like what the guy is saying, but most of the time there's a distrust of politicians, and that's because they're trying to push a narrative. And it's always funny in those, on the political stage. I'm not trying to get political, but there's always another voice trying to say, no, this is true. And it feels like, okay, well, they seem like they have equal weight. Which one is actually true? And it might be neither. I don't know, but that's kind of the idea is like the narrative is think of it as like a set of goggles or glasses that you see the world through. And that narrative affects when your brain is taking in information through that lens internally coming this direction, your brain then processes it through a certain lens. And then you put it out there through your mouth and your actions and your words and deeds and through your things that you create and your nonprofits you create and your services and all of this stuff. You put it out there, and it's actually a projection. And what we see out here from you is a projection. It's a symptom of what's going on in here. And everyone projects always. This isn't um oh, Sigmund Freud said, hey, sometimes people project. No, when you really think about it, everyone projects always. Whether you have love or something else, fear, but we all project from our narrative what it is that we believe. And so the major narrative that is out there right now, and if you picture every great story, right? Like if you like Star Wars, if you like just the classic tale of like the knight that must overcome and save the princess by defeating the dragon, like every major story that has any oomph to it that makes you feel anything and involves you at all has a hero that must slay the dragon. There's a villain or a concept or something that is pushing the hero down. And in some stories, like great movies, maybe that hero fails actually, but that's for entertainment purposes. But we can't afford to treat veterans and families in the narrative around that at entertainment level. We have to get into the nitty gritty. In fact, when you look at it, the entertainment level, all that is pushed is the pew pew pew, bald eagles, patriotic themes, or them being heroic in battle. But then most often what you see, if anything to do with their time at home, is some sort of post service crash, post deployment crash. And so that just kind of perpetuates what I'm talking about around the narrative that is so predominant in our culture. And so I just want you, if you're watching this, to be thinking about, how do I truly view a veteran? For the sake of this video and forever and all the conversations I've had leading up to this video, I call it the broken veteran narrative. And that broken veteran narrative is really hurting people. As much as we think that veterans are hurting, that's what the broken veteran narrative would say. The broken veteran narrative is hurting veterans. It's hurting their spouses and it's hurting their kids. It's hurting Gold Star spouses who've lost loved ones. It's hurting their kids. And the broken veteran narrative it says it puts things like stigmas first over the people, and it categorizes people by those stigmas. For instance, the word disabled. I asked a lady just the other day, just completely be honest with me here. I have no judgment for your answer because I understand that most people are coming from this broken veteran space in their minds because of media, because of how people talk about this stuff. It's just what is kind of out there. And if I asked you, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word veteran? What is the first word that comes to your mind? And she said, Gabe, if I'm being honest, for some reason, I can't even explain why, I heard the word disabled come into my head. And I said, listen, that's not your fault. I really appreciate the honesty because without that honesty, we can't get anywhere. But the disabled veteran is part of the broken veteran. And one of the veterans in our program said it best, and I just continue to push what he said. I am broken, but I'm not broken. Like, don't you dare treat me like I'm broken. Sure, I've got some stuff going on, but I'm not broken. And even the veterans that I've met who may have dealt with some severe mental health issues, they have that same mindset of like, I am powerful. I'm just dealing with some stuff. And that's a civilian, that's a very human experience. That's not veteran specific. That is a human civilian experience as well. And so you can relate to them. And if we stop just putting veterans in these corners of you're disabled, you likely have this, that is coming from fear ultimately. If you see a veteran in a store and you're close by, is there a fear of, not saying I don't want to say the wrong thing to offend them. I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to trigger them. All of those things are coming from a place of fear. And so that word disabled, and I'll give you a little story. We had a veteran join our program that said, "Hey, I just want you to know I'm a disabled veteran." Now that would have been completely relevant if there was stuff I needed to do to be adaptive in our approach for any reason. But he just meant I'm a disabled veteran and I've got this, and this going on in my life. And I was happy to listen. And I said, "Listen, man, I just want you to know," because he had not been in the military for like 12 years at this point, and he had told me he felt like he was floating for that entire 12 years. And then I said to him, "I will never call you disabled. You are a veteran who has a disability rating." And as my brother says, just try calling some of his infantry buddies disabled. They will laugh in your face and say, "I could do more with," even if they're missing limbs. I could do more with what I have than you could with what you have. So even if they have physical things, they're incredibly strong. And so we come at it from that strengths based perspective. And so when that guy said that, I said, "You will not see on our website disabled veteran. You will not hear any of our staff call you disabled. We will not tell you, hey, go get, we'll not refer to you as, we have a disabled veteran in our program. That will never happen. You are a veteran who has a disability rating." And when I said that, I saw something lift from his shoulder, like a weight almost. I literally saw this reaction. I said, we'll never do that." And he went like this: "You're right. I do have goals." How do you think he felt like he was floating for 12 years? Because the word, just that one small perspective was causing him to think from a deficit, broken mindset. And it was affecting his ability as a human to embrace the goals that he had for himself. And if you don't have goals, if you don't have purpose, you're going to feel like you're floating. It all connects and makes sense when you really see it in for what it is. And so I wanted to free him from that and to enter him step one into the victorious veteran narrative, that you are victorious. You were victorious. Look at your service. I don't care if you pushed paper and with pencils or whatever. I don't care if you flipped eggs. I don't care if you were infantry or top special force operators. I don't like what, just the mere fact that you were willing to sign a line that I didn't want to sign to protect me and my goals and my dreams, to put yourself aside and to have that self-sacrifice. That's incredible. And so just that act alone, knowing that any moment an order could call you into a place where you might be in harm's way. That is something that 99% of this country will never truly understand. And that is a victorious decision to sign that line. And it is victorious to finish your service, whatever it might be, 2 years, 20 years. We do at WTO, we do not compare service to other people's. We even have people in our program who had dishonorable discharges, but they signed the dotted line, but they were young kids doing stupid things. And they made some of the decisions that other people got, made, but just didn't get caught, but they got caught. And it's impacted their pride of their own service forever. When I was 20 or 21, 22, 23, 24, when I was in my 20s, even up to my 30s, I was doing dumb stuff. I was figuring it out, right? And so that broken veteran thing, it's just hurting people. And when we meet people, we say, "You're not broken. Let's show you how we see you. Let's show you how empowered I see you." Because when I have my victorious veteran lens on, I just can't help but see the potential in you. I can't help but see where you could go from here. I don't care how low you are right now, because I have been there personally as a human. I've been at the lowest of low points. And I can tell you that there's only positive momentum if you start to see your own potential. But you will never be free from that. And this is just relevant for civilians too. You'll never be free to explore the totality of your potential if you have your own broken narrative. And especially if you then project brokenness onto veterans. Man, I can't even tell you the suicide thing. We deal with that on a human to human basis in our nonprofit. It is a real thing at times for some veterans. It is not because veterans are veterans, they are suicidal. It is not this stigmatic thing in our program that we're just constantly on edge about this issue, because we talk through our family advocacy, we talk with people one on one in real relationships, and we find out what they have going on. And because they know that we're not stigmatizing them, and a stigma ultimately dehumanizes people. And so because they feel human around us, they're more willing to share if they do have some of that stuff going on. Or as a veteran told me, like, hey, I'm hearing those thoughts, but I would never do that. I would never do that. I value my life too much. I've had too many people in my life do something stupid along those lines, and I would never do that. I just can't figure out now why those thoughts are there. So it's like we need to honor and respect the differences, even when it comes to certain issues, that there's different ways it plays out for people. And to just have this fear around, and like I literally, I've talked to too many people even recently who, they don't understand that we see things this way or feel things this way. And so they'll try to bring the broken veteran thing to my table as if that's normal. And they'll try, you know, to impose that upon me and to address these issues with this stigmatic lens. I'm just not going to play that game. And WTO will never play that game. So I want to encourage us to get to this victorious veteran place in our hearts. See veterans for the potential in themselves. See them for the value that they currently have as humans, and their spouses too. Man, like, what did they go through while their partner was serving? In our minds, like they're just as much a hero in our minds for what they had to sacrifice. So that's installment one of Freedom Friday. It's just a taste of the stuff that I want to talk about, the stuff that WTO wants people to embrace and understand. We have a whole storytelling, like collective of storytellers that I started because my background is journalism. And I've gathered all of these amazing people to help capture the stories of veterans, because the veteran status is commendable, but it's just that it's a veteran status. It is not a primary identity, because when someone takes that as a primary identity, not only are they prone to this broken veteran narrative and culture that can keep them down, but they lose all the other aspects of who they are. And we're one of the few nonprofits that tells veterans first, you are a human being. Let's figure out who you are. Notoriously, the three things that veterans say they lose when they leave service is their identity, their teammates, and so their teammates, identity, and purpose. So that's the first thing that we try to do for WTOs, connect them to teammates. Hey, we've got this entire staff of, volunteers and staff and family and all these people that you get to be a part of now, and the people we serve too. We're a community for you here. And let's get you plugged into this identity. You're a human being now. What does life look like now that you're not in the service? Who are you? You're not government property. You're not being told what to do anymore. Let's figure out who you are. And who you are is not suicidal. Who you are is not alcoholic, PTSD. We don't even call it PTSD within WTO. We call it PTS, because post-traumatic stress is a common reaction to things that you've been through. And even as a civilian, I've learned that a lot of veterans say that my PTS did not even kick in until I was in the civilian world watching civilians live their lives and wondering kind of what was my service for, because a lot of us don't appreciate truly what the veteran population has done for us. So it's not even because of what they saw. Like that's something civilians do is they'll paint in their picture this like really cinematic view of what veterans have gone through. And again, it's fake. It's not based in reality until it is. Until a veteran says, "This was my story. This is what I went through, and it did this to me." That is real because it's their story, it's their actual experience. And we have to start to understand the difference between those two things and to differentiate them so we could address it on a real human basis. I hope this has been somewhat informative. I hope it's been a good introduction into our hearts for the people that we serve, our hearts for the veterans in our community. And if you want to be a part of this victorious veteran narrative, drop a like, drop a comment, and let us know, because this is kind of a pledge we want people to be taking in their hearts. I don't need you to sign anything. I'm not going to give you a sticker. I need you to, in your heart, say, "I will be a part of the solution here." And if we as civilians don't create, and if we, I'm just saying in the military community, because my brothers, and I feel like I could say that, right? But if veterans and if the military community doesn't also get on board with this broken veteran narrative will always continue to thrive. But it starts with one voice. Go build was a narrative for the longest time. Western expansion, building infrastructure, bridges, roads, building cities. And someone along the way said, "Well, what about the environment?" And then 10 people, and then 1,000. And then now you can't even just go build without thinking about going green and having an environmental impact study. So that's the power of focusing on bringing up a narrative that can challenge and overcome even. I don't want the victorious veteran narrative to challenge and just be a counterweight. I want it to overcome the broken veteran narrative, because when this population of people truly thrives, we all thrive. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to be doing this from wherever I happen to be. I happen to have a nice microphone set up and everything today. I might be on the road another day. We'll see. But Freedom Fridays. I'm glad to have you. Love you. And have a great weekend.